Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending where you're dialing in from. Very warm welcome to today's session, the fourth edition of our webinar series, this time on the topic of EcoVadis. I will give, because we're 1 minute early, I see actually, I will give still some people time to join. But already 24 people live, 29 people live. So that goes fast. Maybe to check if my audio is working and if everyone can see and hear me clearly. Could you use the chat functionality of Teams to write the country you're dialing in from? That would help me as a double check to make sure that everyone can hear me. So if you can use the chat, perfect. I see already some first answers coming in. Germany, UK, Netherlands, Sweden, USA, Ireland, super, Portugal, that works. And also exciting to see all the different countries. Great. So I think it's about time. We are 1 minute past 4 p.m. CAT. And we will start with today's session. So again, welcome to everyone who dialed in. I see we are with 50 people live. For sure, in the next minutes, more people will join. But for now, we will start. So today's session is about EcoVadis, a hot topic in today's industry. And as an introduction from my side, I will first explain a bit about the house rules of today. We have a chat box that I will ask you to use during the webinar. And what I mean by that is if you have any questions during the webinar, I would highly suggest writing them there. And then we will do a live Q&A towards the end where we will answer your questions live. So we will do the webinar as a whole for approximately 45 minutes. And then towards the end, we will answer the questions you all have put in that chat box and answer them right at that moment. Other than that, as a short introduction on the webinar series, every month we ask at the end of the webinars we host the people who dialed in live which topic they want to want us to talk about next. The reason why we're here today on the topic of EcoVadis is because all of you guys voted in the last webinar that EcoVadis should be the topic we do a deep dive on in this session. So we are super excited to dive in today. I'm with a powerhouse panel that is joining me today. I will do a short introduction in a bit. Other than that, am I missing anything still? Yes, which is towards the end of the webinar, we do a EcoVadis policy giveaway. So definitely stay tuned towards the end of the webinar. We have a perfect template that has delivered proven results for our clients globally. We are giving it away to you guys towards the end of the webinar. So that's still coming. Having said that, I will first start sharing my screen, which I realize I haven't done yet. And then from there, I will pass the word towards Farah for an introduction from your side.
Sure. Thank you, Robert, and welcome everyone to the fourth edition of Dazzle's webinar. And we're very lucky to have you guys here and to have Elisa here, who I will hand over after doing my introduction. So I'm Farah. I'm the Global Community Manager for Dazzle. And I think I'm the luckiest person ever to get to do this. Dazzle's community is a very diverse and talented community, and it's a vetted, selected community of independent sustainability professionals. And I'm privileged to be kind of involved in the whole life cycle of community management, from recruitment to engaging with the current Dazzle members. Going forward, I think we can go to the next slide where I want to tell a little bit more about Dazzle's community. So we currently have more than 200 people in Dazzle community. Are we changing the slide, Robert? Because I think it's still.
Yeah, I think yeah.
Okay,
No
I forgot
worries.
to do the agenda, but I'll do it later because I'm too excited to talk about this. Yes, we have more than 200 people, independent experts in Dazzle's community. And the community is truly global. It spans more than 60 countries. We have more than 50 languages spoken. The average years of experience is 5+ years. So it's absolutely amazing that we have been able to bring together such a diverse and talented group of people. And everyone in Dazzle community specializes. We are very selective in who we are sort of calling a Dazzle member. And once in, that means these people are really, really dedicated and committed and really professional. And we have different service lines from reporting to ratings to communications to sustainability strategy and training and capacity building. So this is obviously not exhaustive. We have a lot of other things that our amazing Dazzlers can do. And one of them is on this call with us, and we're very lucky to have her. And she's the one who is going to run the presentation today. I will hand over to her so that she can do a proper introduction. I don't think I'll do it justice, but just before that, I wanted to very quickly run you guys through the agenda. So today we're going to speak about how EcoVadis works, the importance of materiality comparison, and the concept of materiality assessment in EcoVadis, which is going to be a little bit different, and Elisa is going to tell us all about it. The basics of the official EcoVadis methodology, how EcoVadis analysts review the submissions and what exactly they're looking for, and top 5 best practices for the next year questionnaire, or the cycle actually already. After we have covered the basics, we will have a live Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer any questions you have. You don't have to wait until the Q&A session. You can put your questions in the chat, and we will go through them once we have reached that part. And in the end, as Robert already mentioned, we're going to do a EcoVadis policy template giveaway, which is already checked by Elisa. She has already used it in her work with multiple clients, and it is a proven quality policy that will definitely get you some points. Now I'll hand over to you, Elisa, to introduce yourself and start the presentation.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Farah. It's a pleasure to be here with everybody today, and of course to contribute to the Dazzle set of webinars. Who am I? So I'm an environmental engineer. I've been working for 15+ years already in sustainability management. So I have an MBA in implementation of sustainability within business setups. So I've had the pleasure to work for a very wide set of different sector companies, different sizes, some product companies, some service companies. So it's been a ride over the last 15 years. And of course, I'm here today as my capacity of EcoVadis certified consultant to run you through a bit the process, give you some tips, hopefully some bits and pieces that you were unaware about, and that will be very helpful for you for your next assessment, right? EcoVadis, I've been working with helping clients with EcoVadis for the past 7 to 8 years, so practically since EcoVadis has started. So I've been there through the whole development of the methodology, the different type of tools that EcoVadis is using, the different type of scoring methodologies, what you can see in the platform, what you can't see in the platform. So let's see together how we can make the most of your next assessment and give you very useful tips and tricks, because I get EcoVadis can be painful because there's a lot to it. Sometimes it's a bit frustrating because you know that you have a well set system in place, but your scoring is not reflecting where you think you're at. So hopefully we can help you through that in this webinar.
I think also the goal of the webinars, because we know there's a lot of theoretical, information about EcoVadis, is but to really show what worked in practice, and hopefully give everyone in this session, actual tips and sort of behind the scenes how EcoVadis analysts think and review your assessment, so that you can really prepare better for the next one to aim towards, the the top medals, which in the end is also the goal with EcoVadis. But before we do so, before we dive into the actual content of the webinar, we think it is nice to hear a bit from the audience as well, and get a bit of an understanding where everyone is at in terms of maturity when it comes to EcoVadis. And we do 3 polls in a row. Farah, am I launching this?
I am launching this.
Okay, you are launching this. With the polls, we can also adjust the content of today's session towards everyone who is dialing in. So depending on the maturity level, we can give some more tailored examples and based on the challenges that you guys have. So the first question is around your current medal, which is helpful for us to understand based on the presentation today. Second question is how confident you are that your organization is maximizing its EcoVadis potential, which is always a tricky one, as Elisa just highlighted that there's this differentiation between your sustainability strategy versus the EcoVadis methodology. Is that optimized for the best result? And then as a third question, where do you think, potentially based on question 2, where you lose the most points when it comes to EcoVadis? Different answers there from documentation to internal stakeholder management. It's all in there. So it is interesting to see the first results coming in. Thanks everyone for voting and participating in this. That's really helpful. Are you able to see the results as well, Farah and Elisa? I think
Yes.
for the first question, it says that the majority of the people who dial in today have no medal yet or are at bronze. So that's helpful to know. Second one is how confident you are that your organization is maximizing its EcoVadis potential. 50% of everyone who dialed in today is somewhat confident. We do our best, but it's hit and miss. So that's 51%. So definitely some work to do there. And when it comes to the third question, where do you think you lose the most points on EcoVadis? It's not having enough formalized policies with 39%. So that's relevant, I would say. Well, because we are giving away, obviously, this best in practice policy template towards the end of the webinar, but also good for you to know, Elisa, during the session that, to perhaps emphasize a bit more on the policy element, how analysts review this and how to best set this up for organizations who are listening in. So I think we can move to the first slides.
Okay, great. So excellent. So now that we ran the polls, I will really focus on the key points so that you can also have more insight. So very brief introduction to EcoVadis, because most of you, even if you don't have a medal or you're working towards it, you probably know what EcoVadis is already. But EcoVadis is the largest by far sustainability rating provider. So it was born or it was launched ideally because there was the need to have it was started because really there was the need to have more transparency in supply chains, right? So what happens most of the times is that big clients use EcoVadis as a way to assess their entire supply chain. So maybe that's your case. You're being pulled into EcoVadis because one of your largest clients has demanded you to undergo an EcoVadis assessment. Basically, there's a set questionnaire. So you have a series of questions which you need to populate. It's a document-based assessment. So you need to upload documentation to prove all of the different components that EcoVadis is asking you. And there is a rating, right? So you have a score out of 100, which gives you your sustainability rating as per EcoVadis. So far, there are more than 125,000 companies being rated by EcoVadis, more than 180 countries, and more than 200 plus industries, right? Which means that EcoVadis is by far the largest sustainability rating provider worldwide. And the main reason why companies are within EcoVadis, it's because clients are demanding it, investors are demanding it, your bank provider is demanding it in order to give you or grant you some money, right? So most of the companies within EcoVadis are being pulled into the rating.
Great.
So what does EcoVadis ask for? So EcoVadis is divided, the questionnaire is divided into 4 main themes. So we have environment theme, labor and human rights, ethics and sustainable procurement. In total, there are around 21 sustainability criteria that are within the questionnaire. And all of these criteria and themes are highly aligned with the most commonly known sustainability management frameworks or standards, like the Global Reporting Initiative, like ISO 26000, United Nations Global Compact. So it's pretty much aligned with the, let's say, foundational sustainability management system requirements in any given management system. But essentially, you also get a score by theme, and there are a certain set of criteria that will be activated depending on your sector and size. And you're going to get a score, right? And if you see here on the bottom, we have a 0, which is insufficient. Then we have partial, good, advanced, and outstanding. So it gives you a hint on the level of maturity of your system, right, per theme, and an overall score as well. Very, very important is the fact that from these 21 criteria, not all companies have all 21 criteria activated, right? The questionnaire is tailored according to your sector, according to your size, and according to the areas where you have operations, right? If you have operations in what EcoVadis deems high-risk areas, high-risk countries, your questionnaire will have an extra set of activated criteria and scoring principles, right? So this is very important for you to know on the first hand, because if you know which is the activated criteria, you know where to focus your efforts, right, into what to implement, and where you don't even need to focus or even answer the questions in the questionnaire because they're not contributing towards score. And then on the other hand is if you have one of your peers or your competitor companies score and you want to compare with them, the questionnaire might be different, right? Because it's really depending on your sector, on your size, and on your location. So sometimes just beware when you compare yourself to other companies, your location of operation and your size might make a big difference. And that's why probably the questionnaire is different and you can't compare your score to them because it's not the same rules that you're going through, right? Here in this slide, we have an example of the activated criteria for a manufacturing of plastic products company. So for example, a bottle company versus a computer programming. And as you can see right away, the manufacturer company has a lot of activated criteria on environment, whereas the computer programming has just three areas. This does not mean that in your EcoVadis questionnaire, you won't get questions on water, on biodiversity, for example, for the computer programming. But now that you know that those criteria are not activated, even if they're popping up in your questionnaire, you don't have to really answer them because they're not contributing to score. Okay, so that's good for you to know where to focus your efforts, because if you've been in EcoVadis, you know that the questionnaire is quite extensive. It takes a lot of time to populate and to figure out how to answer it. So it's good to check which is your activated criteria. How can you do that? In your platform, where you have under your official name, you should have in another color the name of your industry. We call this the industry risk score, and you click on it, and then you're going to get the full disclosure of the full criteria, whether or not it's activated. And if it's activated, you're also going to get a hint whether it's low, medium, or high priority in your assessment. Okay. Robert, I don't know if you want to give a bit of insights here on what you've seen with some Dazzle clients.
Yeah, sure. So I think you already explained it really clear. But yeah, I think one of the first things that clients do whenever they open a questionnaire is check this, right? Because as you say, Elisa, the questionnaire can be quite overwhelming. So it is then one of the first elements quite convenient for yourself to check which materials are, or which topics are the most material to you. And this comparison is already very clear. And another comparison I always, make when speaking to our clients who we help with EcoVadis is us as, or let's say a traditional consulting firm. They also have very different material topics compared to manufacturing, right? So in practice, from a procurement standpoint already, very basic example, consulting firms only buy, the laptops and the pens, which means that there's minimum weight on those material topics. So it is, as you said, it is a very important step to check this. So it's a crucial one before fitting in the assessment for sure.
I actually have a question here, Elisa, if you could elaborate on that a little bit. The slides mention EcoVadis as customized to your industry materiality. So my question is, the concept of materiality can be different, right? Depending on what framework, what reporting framework or strategic framework the organization is using. It can be double materiality for CSRD, it can be impact materiality for GRI. So how do you advise the companies to harmonize that? And is there a difference between the concept of materiality as far as EcoVadis is concerned? Or can I, for example, say I have assessed my material topics, and maybe there isn't a very strict overlap between the activated criteria of EcoVadis and what I consider to be material for me. So how do I find that balance as an organization?
So that's a really, really good question. I know EcoVadis, in alignment with CSRD, will sometime in the future align the double materiality results to how the questionnaire is tailored and which are the activated topics. But so far, that's not the case. As per your sector and as per your countries of operation and the risk that they have, the criteria are already set, right? So even if in your materiality assessment, your current double materiality assessment, water is not popping up as material, if in the sector of EcoVadis it's activated, they will ask about water, and if you don't answer those questions, you will not get the points for it, and that will have obviously a negative impact on your score. I know EcoVadis is planning to make that alignment, but it's not in place yet, and probably it will not come in the next 2 years. So that one is very important because yes, either you stick to your materiality and you say, it's not material to me, but then you know that you won't get the maximum points because you're not disclosing that information, or you try and report on EcoVadis what you do have in place to try and see if you can get that score. But yes, that's a very important point.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think that's very helpful. Yeah.
Shall we move to the next slide, Elisa?
Yes, perfect.
Super.
Okay, so once you're in the questionnaire, right, per theme, you're going to get a bundle set of questions, which are typically in 3 main categories. So it's policy questions, and here we have questions about what policies do you have in place and what endorsements you have in place, so external sustainability initiatives that you participate in. The policy part and endorsements accounts for 25% of the weight in your score. Okay, so it's a quarter, right? So it's important. Then we have questions or a bucket, let's say, on actions, right? So it's all of those questions that say, what measures do you have in place for health and safety, for career management and development, right? So that is what EcoVadis calls measure questions. Then there's certificate questions where they precisely ask about certificates. And here the certificates that by far give the highest points are all ISO standards. So ISO 14001 for environment, 45,000 for labor, 27,000 for ethics because IT is included there. And 27,000 also gives some points for sustainable procurement. And then the third layer on actions is coverage. So how much percentage of your operations are covered by certificates, are covered by the measures, right? Some companies have the coverage part deactivated from their assessment, and you can also see that in your EcoVadis portal. Normally, it's the smaller companies that have it deactivated. But coverage is also a multiplying factor. So the more measures that you have in place, the more certifications and the better reporting, the higher your coverage score. So it's a multiplying factor. Now, what's the weight of this bucket of action questions? It's 40%. Okay, so it's a big chunk of the questionnaire. And then we get the third part, which is results, right? And there EcoVadis takes into account what the questions that they consider reporting, which is mostly all of the KPIs that they ask, right? And then there's the 360 watch. The 360, it's a tool that EcoVadis has developed that searches the internet with published information, articles, lawsuits, controversies. They have a set of verified sources that they account to, and then you get a score based on the findings, right? So if you've had a lawsuit against one of your suppliers for human rights breaches, then probably your result on the 360 is not going to be good. And they go even further. If there's very critical findings on the 360, you can even not get, not be eligible for a certificate or a medal within EcoVadis. And the total weight on the score for the results part is 35%, okay? In the 360, there's not much you can do, right? Because it's whatever EcoVadis finds that's published about your company. Obviously, the better that you operate, the less they will find. But in terms of, you don't need to submit any documentation, right? This is something that they roll out. But the reporting part, it's the KPIs, and this one is a very, very important one, right? You need to have the KPIs as EcoVadis is asking for them. So if they're saying percentage of women in top management position, you need to have that KPI written in that way in an official document of your company, right? You need to be very precise. So if we focus, we can go to the next slide.
Before we go to the next one, I actually have a question here, Elisa. Two questions, actually. One is around the policies part, because it says policies, objectives, targets, governance.
Yes.
If we can dwell a little bit on the governance, I'd be very curious to hear what you think is a best practice and whether or not, for example, it helps to have a dedicated sustainability committee or a sustainability working group, or is it not necessarily, is it not necessary if you say, I have, for example, I have already my chief human resources officer who's taking care of it. I have a person who's, what's the best practice here?
Exactly. So in terms of policies, EcoVadis has, remember, your activated criteria, right? And they want to see if you have a policy that covers that topic. This does not mean that you need to have a specific policy document just for that topic. You can have a comprehensive sustainability policy or environment policy, and then your HR handbook where you cover the social activated criteria. So it's up to you where you put it. However, what are the key requirements that the policy document needs to have? So the policy needs to have, of course, a logo. It needs to have a date, right? You need to have qualitative objectives. So you need to explain what you want to do per activated topic. So for example, if the topic is GHG emissions, your qualitative objectives can be I want to measure my GHG emissions annually. I want to set in place improvement measures annually. I want to try and implement as much renewable energy as possible within all of my operations. So it's a description, right? A qualitative commitment. You also need to have quantitative targets for each activated topic, at least one. And this needs to be a SMART target, right? It needs to be quantifiable. So I want to reduce my Scope 1 emissions by 50% up to 2030 from a baseline year of 2019. So it needs to be very specific. The targets does not need to be within your policy document. You can have it in another official document of the company, but you need to attach it to the same policy question for it to count. And then the most important part is you need to have in the policy a section for governance. So who's responsible for the policy? And here it can be whomever within the organization you feel is best. So you don't need to have a sustainability committee. It can be the HR person, whomever you have internally. You need to have a section called scope. So to whom the policy is applicable to, normally to the entire employees, contractors, providers, temporary work staff, a scope. And then you need to have also a phrase on review mechanism. So how often do you update the policy? This can be a one phrase. We revise it annually. The person responsible for the policy, the HR director, revises this policy annually based on legal changes, internal developments, and so on. Very important is entirely new set policies will not be accepted if they are created with less than 2 months before submitting to EcoVadis. Okay, and this is a new policy. If you have your current existing policy since 1 year back or 2 years back, and you want to add things to make it more consistent, right, and to make it more comprehensive, you can just put in the policy, so creation date 2020, right, January 2020, revision date January 2025. So include the revision date so that it's clear for them that it's a revision because you've added things, but that the creation of the policy was back then. And if you create the policy 2 months prior submitting to EcoVadis, even if it's the best policy in the world, EcoVadis will not accept it as proof and they will reject it the time that you assess it. And then the next year, they will take it into account because there's a full year. And policies, once they are valid or accepted, they last for 8 years. Okay, so you don't need to revise it in 8 years. If your policy is well enough, it's in shape, you're getting 100 out of 100, you don't need to upload it every year. You just keep it there and it's valid for the next 8 years.
Okay.
Maybe we need to move to the next slides. For sure, we have more questions coming, so I'm just gonna bring you to the EcoVadis medals.
Yeah, so the medals, how do they work? Before, there used to be a range of score, like, okay, if you're scoring 80, you get platinum, right, out of 100. How does it work now? So EcoVadis, every month, they check the last 12 months of assessments. And according to these percentiles, 1%, 5%, 15%, and 35%, depending on the results of all of the companies that have submitted in the last 12 months, they are going to determine what score is a platinum, what is a gold, what is a silver. Very important is companies are always trying to improve, right? So the threshold of what is a platinum keeps going up. Right now, for you to have a hint, a platinum is at 83 out of 100 overall score. That's where platinum is right now. And a couple of months back, it was at 81, right? So it's moving pretty fast. But this is something that EcoVadis recalculates at the end of every month based on the last 12 months of data. And they are assessing the entire companies assessed by EcoVadis.
Super. Okay. Yeah, and then I think this is the final slide before we, 2 more slides, and then we dive into the behind. Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So just to give you a hint, you have this type of scorecard sample within your EcoVadis platform, where you have a bit of granularity on per theme, so per environment, labor, ethics, and sustainable procurement, how well you're scoring on all of the different sections, right? On policies, on endorsements, on measures. This is a really, really good table for you to figure out, where your improvement opportunities are, where do you need to focus more, what's the biggest change from one year to another. The scoring within the table jumps from 25 points to 25. That's why you only see, 0, 25, 50, or 75, or 100. That's the maximum you're going to get. And right now, EcoVadis is giving you the granularity of your score per theme. On previous years, they did like a roundup. So if you were at 65 out of 100, they would say it's a 70. But right now, you will get the full granularity. So for environment, you can get a 78 out of 100 or a 74. Now we're going to get to see that. So maybe some of you have experienced that your score seems to have gone down. It might be because now you're getting the granular of your score and it's not being rounded up. Okay. Okay, and then there's also this tool, depending on your subscription type, where you can see where you're at compared to all of the other companies within your same industry, within your same region, or the different size. So you have a couple of filters on the top, and you can see where you're at and what is a 1%, what's a 5%, and so on. So it's a good benchmarking tool. However, it's only available for subscriptions that are not basic EcoVadis subscription. You have the 3 subscription types. So it's a paid feature, but it's a very useful one for you to have that.
Absolutely. Yeah, moving to the next one.
Okay, so let's get to the really interesting part, right? So how do EcoVadis analysts review your assessment? So the process is you get your questionnaire, right? You need to tick those boxes where you think you have things, and then you need to attach the document, right? You have a maximum of 55 documents to upload. First thing they will check is, are those documents okay? EcoVadis has a very strict set of rules of what documentation needs to have for it to be a pass, right? And we're going to go into the detail of what that means in one slide, the next slide. But you need to make sure that the document is in shape, so it passes all of the quality criteria, and you need to ensure that they are relevant and that it's consistent with where your high impact areas of the questionnaire are, right? So don't upload 15 documents for ethics if your ethics theme is low priority and your environment theme is high priority. Try and use more documents for environment to build the case and to actually get more the points that you have available for you. The second point is evidence of policies and actions, right? So you need to have official policy documents for the policy questions, okay? Not all of the scoring components, like the targets, need to be in the policy document, but you need to have a policy document for it to give you the scoring, right? And the policy needs to cover all of the activated criteria, right? So you can put as a subheader in your policy those activated criteria that you have by EcoVadis. You populate your qualitative commitments or what you do, and you set in place the mechanism, right? Internal procedures, certifications, any Excel files that you have. So try and get as much evidence as possible for the different components. Results and KPIs, right? So this one is very, very important. What the EcoVadis analyst will really look at is if the KPI that they are asking for is within your internal files, right? And here, you need to bear in mind that they're going to be very direct, right? So it needs to be written in the same exact way, in the same exact wording that EcoVadis is asking for it. Most of the EcoVadis KPIs are exactly the same as the ones that you're being asked for GRI reporting, for CSRD reporting, and so on. Yes, is there a, no? Okay.
Nope.
Yeah. So for results and KPIs, besides the fact that the KPI needs to be as they are asking it, right? And you also have a set of different units. So you're free to use the unit that you want if it's in the list of EcoVadis, but the name of the KPI needs to be the same. And then you need to show 3 years of data. If you only show 1 year of data, you're not going to tap into the full score of the results part. You need to have 3 consecutive years of data, right? So if you're submitting in 2026, you would probably want to have in your KPI dashboard 2025, 2024, and 2023 data for all of your KPIs, okay? EcoVadis analysts will check if those KPIs are within an internal document or if they are also published externally. Okay, so try and put within your sustainability report or any public-facing document as many KPIs as possible. You don't need to have them all in the external version, but try and have as much as possible in the external version. And then the fourth point, very important, is they will check if there's a certain level of consistency and alignment, right? So if you're saying in your policy, we're going to measure and track our emissions every year and set improvement opportunities, and then in your KPI dashboard and your indicators, you don't disclose scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, right? As what you're saying in the policy, there's going to be a mismatch. So you're not going to tap onto the full potential of points in policies and in reporting, okay? So consistency and alignment is important. Now, very important is the system of analysis that was used in the past has differed a lot in what they're doing right now because of the use of AI, right? So basically what happens is EcoVadis uses an AI tool on the first round, right? Where they get all of your answers to the questionnaire, all of the documents that you've uploaded to each one of them. And the AI tool will say, okay, yes, I found what I'm looking for, or it's not, I didn't find it, or whatever, right? And then the analyst, so a real person analyst, will go in and check the gray areas or the areas where the AI tool was not very sure on what's happening, right? So this is a big difference, and it means that wording is very important, right? Because the document that is being screened needs to have the precise wording so that they can find what they are looking for, okay? Just a quick tip. Every time that you receive a scorecard, do check the results, right? Because sometimes EcoVadis makes an error, right? And you can appeal for that, right?
We have experienced it, right, Elisa? That
yes, exactly. We've experienced
clients went
it
back
a
in
lot.
score. We did the appeal, and then
yeah, yes, definitely. And it didn't happen that much in the past, but in the past year we've experienced it a lot. There's been a lot of appeals because as EcoVadis grows and it gets more complicated, there's less people doing an analysis, right? So errors pop up. So do check your scorecard, because sometimes they miss it, and then you think that the document is not in shape, but it is. And if you appeal, there is a revision of score, and you can get those points. You can get those points.
Yeah, absolutely. Next slide.
Yes. Okay, so given EcoVadis is purely a document-based assessment, right? Because you tick the boxes and you attach the document. Very, very important. You have a maximum of 55 documents to upload every single year, right? The hardest part is the first year of your first assessment, because you need to upload a lot of stuff. Moving on from there, if your policies are in shape, remember they will last for 8 years, so you don't need to upload it again unless you've made an update to your policy. So you don't need to upload the 55 documents. My recommendation is try and put in place an effective system where with 5 key documents, you just need to update those 5 documents every year to submit the next year, right? So all documents need to have a company logo or official company name. All documents must include a date. And if they don't have these 2 components, they will be automatically rejected. Okay, so it's very important to put the logo and to put the date.
It's the basics.
That's the basics. Yeah. Because too far, we've seen companies uploading screenshots of your software where you have the data sharing, exactly. screenshots or documents from your supplier, but the name of your company is not in it. So how can EcoVadis know that it's an assessment that you made to your supplier? Excel files without a logo and a date on the top line of your Excel file, also rejected. So be aware of that. And then each time you tick a box in the questionnaire, you need to upload the relevant documentation. If you forget to upload a document there, even if that document is throughout your questionnaire on another set of questions, you will not get the score for that tick box. Okay, so you need to upload the relevant document to each one of the ticked boxes. Okay, and that's the hard part because it's very time consuming. The questionnaire is very long, so it's it's highly possible that you get tired, right, and you forget, right, of a document. So that's where the submission part gets tricky, right? You really need to make sure that you're putting in each ticked box all of the documents that are relevant. Now, if you've done it yourself, you upload the document, you need to put the page number, and then there's a comment box. Very important. Anything that you put in the comment box will not be scored. So my recommendation is don't waste time writing in the comment box because nothing that you put there is going to contribute to your score. Only use the comment box if you need to explain something like, for example, this is my parent company documentation. We are part of the group. So this SBTI proof document, as you can see, has the name of my parent company, but we are englobed in it, right? So if you want to give the analyst a little explanation, but never use the comment box to give any additional information. All of the information needs to be in the document that you upload because nothing that you put in the comment box will help you score. It doesn't go to scoring, okay? In the questionnaire, there is also a set of questions, mostly under environment, that are called CAR questions, C-A-R. Those questions are not scored either. So don't upload documents only for the CAR questions. Use that spot of a document for a section on the questionnaire where you're actually going to be scored, okay? That's very important because the CAR questions, they are a lot, and none of them are scored as of now. Okay, this might change in the future, but as of now, they are not scored. And then, of course, pay special attention to the activated topics of your questionnaire, right? And put in place the documents for the activated topics. That's very important. Okay.
Shall we go to the final tips, Elisa?
Yes, perfect.
Super.
Okay, so final tips to wrap it up. So first, check what's your industry activated criteria, right? So that you know where you need to focus on, okay? That's crucial. So check what's activated and if it's low, medium, or high priority for you to know what you need to answer essentially in the questionnaire. The next one is search for concrete evidence, right? Official documents that have a logo, that have a date, that have the specific information that the question is asking for, okay? Next one is be consistent. So just ensure that, whatever you have in your policies is matching whatever you do on reporting, right? It needs to match. If you're saying that you're going to measure emissions and then you have no KPIs on scope 1, 2, and 3, it's not going to play out well.
So in line with that policy action results methodology, right?
Exactly. So in your policy, you're going to need to put qualitative commitments and quantitative targets. Make sure the targets that you set are aligned with your KPIs, right? So that you ensure that you get to that target. Exactly. Keep it simple and structured, right? So really try and keep the documentation as clean as possible and try to make sure that you make it efficient, right? We've helped a lot of the clients to really figure out what are those 5 key documents that only those you need to update year over year. so that you really spend time on what makes sense, right? And you avoid long and unstructured uploads, documents that are not leading to you anywhere. So yeah, structure it, have it organized, have a clear understanding of what's contributing to what, and what you need to update regularly. Engage stakeholders internally. So unless you have like a full sustainability team where you have access to everything, normally what we've seen is you really need to coordinate across departments, right? So you really need to tell your HR people, okay, this is the questionnaire, this is what's popping up, what type of documents do you think you have? The same with your IT department, the same with your procurement department if you have it. Try and have at least one key subject matter expert per theme within your organization to help you out, to figure out which is the best documentation, what to put together. And do that early on, right? Because they normally need time to gather everything.
Yep.
And then maybe the bonus, just really quick, the bonus tip would be double check always before clicking the submit button, double check everything, okay? Have a separate pair of eyes to check it so that you're clear that you haven't missed any documentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super. So I think to take one conclusion for this is try to really make it a system that works for you by keeping it simple and structured and consistent, and not, avoid being it a burden for you. Yeah, we definitely hope that this helped, and we're not done yet. We have the EcoVadis policy template that delivered full points to give away to you guys. But before we do so, we have the live Q&A. I saw already a lot of questions coming in. And I think Adam is now structuring them for us, our dearest colleague from marketing, which he just did. So maybe we can just go through them. I don't think we can answer them all, I'm pretty sure.
Some of them we already covered, actually.
Some of them we already covered. If there are questions we didn't cover yet, we can definitely follow up after the session, written replies from us. But have you seen some questions, Farah, that you would like to tackle first? On the spot. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but
yeah, a little bit, but I think maybe tackle them one by one. The first one are the criteria, and maybe we can keep it short to cover as many as we can. Elisa, are the criteria for the customization of questionnaires towards countries, industries, materialities transparent, which I guess essentially means, do we have access to these criteria?
No, so you have access to your industry in the link in your platform. And there is like the per sector, what is activated or not. But again, it really depends on your country of operations, right? Some countries are higher risk than others, and it depends on your size. So you have some information, but not all.
And the other question kind of feeds into that you mentioned that the score is not comparable, as criteria might be different due to sector size and location. But then how does EcoVadis rate the metals? Because from my understanding, the percentile is related to all companies rated.
You're right. They bundle everything up. So yeah, they take into consideration the whole results, and then that makes the top 1, top 2, top 3. Yeah.
So metals are not. Sorry, Farah. So metals are not industry specific, Elisa. To clarify that, it's
no. The percentile is the whole set of companies that have submitted to EcoVadis.
125,000 a year, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next question you actually answered, the minimum age of documents. You said it needs to be 2 months, just to confirm.
So newly created policies, they need to be done 2 months prior your assessment. If you don't want to make amendments, the policies are valid 8 years. So if you have a previous policy, right, just make sure that you update it every 8 years. Proof documentation for measures can last from 4 to 6 years. So that's fine. And then proof for reporting, so KPIs, it needs to be within the last 2 years of the year of the assessment. So if you submit now in 2026, your KPIs can be from 2024. That's the minimum that they will accept. If you submit 2023 KPIs, they will not accept it. And there's no need for 2025. You can only submit 2024. So it's 2 years back.
And this is for all companies, also those that are, for example, quite young.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't matter. Okay, then we covered another question then. Yeah, the next one is, can you repeat where you can check if the proper questionnaire has been selected for you? I cannot find this. It's from Gia.
Okay, so normally when you set up your account, they will ask you your sector of operation, your size, the location of operations. So you have that in your company profile. So on the top right, there's like a small arrow and you see like company profile. Double check that the sector, the size of your company, you're comfortable with that, right? Sometimes the company grows because you get an acquisition, right? And then you need to make sure that you change that data and double check the sectors that are available. EcoVadis publishes a list of sectors in their webpage. So check all of the sectors that are available there and which one would be most coherent to your operations.
Speaking about sectors, and there's a question on, is there a category for community organizations because they have limited financial and human resources? So is EcoVadis even the right certification is the question.
No, I think actually NGOs and that type of organizations cannot, they cannot undergo an EcoVadis assessment.
Okay. And another question is under labor and human rights for some topics, it says only select this option if it has been identified as a sustainability issue for your company. Two questions about this. If it has not been deemed material in the DMA, is that enough proof? And where do I find the introduction page?
Yes. So my recommendation would be check your industry risk category, like activated categories. If it's activated, even if it's not material to you, you can click on it, say yes, you explain it in the comments, you say, as per my materiality assessment, it's not material. However, I do have some measures and some policies or procedures in place, and then you tick the boxes that are. So if it's activated in your risk industry, I would anyhow say, yes, I have stuff. You explain in the comment box, it's not in my double materiality or your normal materiality, but anyhow, I do have some aspects activated, and you reply. Because until it's deactivated from your risk industry or until EcoVadis announces we are going to contemplate your DMA results or your materiality results into the questionnaire, you're still going to be scored against their activation of topics.
I think okay, there are quite a bit of materiality related questions. I think we covered those. One also on materiality. Does EcoVadis share their materiality criteria openly so a company can compare versus their CSRD materiality?
Yes, so you can see in your industry risk score by your sector. If you click there, you get the full list of activated topics. So which are the topics that are activated in your questionnaire?
Okay.
And those are the material topics as per EcoVadis.
Okay. Another question is it better to do one assessment for your entire company or to do one for each country in which your company operates?
So that's a really good question. It really depends what you need the EcoVadis score for. If the client accepts a group assessment or like holding result, then by far use the holding and you consolidate the information from all of the countries and you submit one assessment at group level that is valid for all of your entities. If you do need it locally because clients are asking for the specific French assessment, Germany assessment, then of course you need to have an entity specific assessment. But if you have the opportunity to do it at group, I highly recommend that group. It's one assessment. One team takes care of it and you're not doing 5 different assessments with all of the work that entails.
Yeah. I really love the rhythm and intensity, extreme pace you're answering all these questions. We do have to leave 1 or 2 more minutes for people to actually get that free EcoVadis policy template. So I'm moving to the next slide, and that means that our team member Adam will at this moment share a link in the chat box for you to download that template. It leads you to a form where you have to leave your email address, and then yeah, my team will make sure that you receive it ASAP. I think that's even automated that you get it directly, and otherwise later today or tomorrow morning first thing. So I would highly recommend for you to get that template, whether you use it or not. It's a really great example that is in line with EcoVadis methodology, but more important as well, also for sustainable practices for your company. In any case, to work towards and have as a standard. So yeah. I think we have 1 minute left, and I yeah, really want to thank everyone for dialing in. Again, don't forget to download the link, the EcoVadis policy via the link in the chat box. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to join us. I hope you enjoyed the session. It was valuable for you. And yeah, I also really want to thank you, Elisa, as a Dazzle freelancer and certified EcoVadis consultant to join. Was a pleasure. And I'm pretty sure we provide some value. And same goes to you, Farah, my co-host. So yeah, thanks everyone. It was a great one. Hope to see you next time. And before we really close off, Farah, I think we need to launch one more poll, if I don't forget. Is that correct? I think Farah is frozen, so I will just check if that's right. Yes, that is the main question. Still, before we close, is which topic would you like us to talk about next in the next webinar? So I almost forgot, but just on time, I'm asking you still for the 70 people who are in, if you can please vote so we can create content for you in the next 30 days that is valuable and in line with the challenge you're facing next. So definitely let us know, and then we will get to work, and we see you hopefully in the next session. And I see the first votes coming in, so thanks everyone a lot for your responses. With both SBTI and CSRD in the lead, we will get to work. So thanks everyone. If you can still push the final button to vote, that would be much appreciated. And with that, I wish everyone a lovely evening, and I hope to see you very soon. And thanks, Elisa, also.
Thank you. No, thanks to you.
It was a pleasure. All right. I will close the session. Have a lovely rest of your day, everyone. And if any questions, you know where to find us. Definitely reach out via email on the website. And otherwise, we see you in the next session. Have a lovely rest of your day.